Let me tell you a brief story before we begin about a moment that changed my life when I was 12. My parents invited my sister and I to a dinner party. We were the only kids there, completely bored out of our minds. But I saw my mother do something extraordinary. I saw her sit across from a woman, and all the dinner guests surrounded them. And she told this woman personal, but really positive things about her life. But they just had met, and they seemed like old friends after about 5 minutes. So on the car ride home, I said to my mom, "Can you analyze my writing?" Now, my agenda was I wanted her to focus on just the good things, of course. So she said, and this is how my mom talks, she said, "Honey, you're oversensitive to criticism, you're stubborn, and you overreact a lot." I said, "Mom, come on. I don't overreact. What are you talking about? You're wrong." But she's my mom and my hero, and so I listened to her, and she said one more thing. She said, "In your handwriting, you have fluidity of thought," one of the traits we're going to look at in a minute. And what that means is that some speakers and writers have this common characteristic. She also said you have high goals and a good self-image. I was completely skeptical. I said, "Mom, are you kidding me? Are you telling me you can analyze my writing based on a few scribbles on a page? What are you, crazy?" I didn't say that, but the first part I said. But here's what happened. I was diagnosed with learning challenges as a kid. I stuttered. I could not get through a sentence when I was speaking in front of a group of people. And here was my mom telling me that she saw something in some weird, obscure tool called handwriting analysis, and that planted a seed. And I ended up becoming a certified handwriting analyst because I was so fascinated with why people behave the way they do. And this became a way and a means to do that. It's helped me with my high school students, reach them to help them connect with what genius lies beneath the signature. It's taken me on a rewarding and unusual journey. I've done couples compatibility workshops. No joke. I've helped entrepreneurs look at the next person they're about to partner with or the next employee to see if they're a good match, and it's been the ultimate icebreaker. Because before I was a teacher, I worked for a company called Saturday Night Live in New York. So picture this, I'm in my early 20s, my first day of work, I'm trying not to be noticed, just to fit in, and I found myself on the studio floor, surrounded by well-known comedians, some who have shows on TV today, actors, producers, and they all wanted me to analyze the writing. And it's helped me discover my strengths. And today, in the limited time we have together, I'm going to show you 5 success traits that you may have in common with some of the most extraordinary thought leaders of the day. But it's not about them, it's about you. Are you ready to have some fun? Yes? Ready to have some fun? So here's what I'd like to ask you to do. And for those of you in the back, I'm sorry if I didn't reach you earlier. I've tried to get through there, but you're all connecting, which is what this night's about. Underneath your chairs and all around the room, there are white cards. What I'd ask you to do is to write the following sentence and the signature on that card. Humor me. Let's have some fun. This is meant to be interactive. And like a gentleman said over here, I hope nothing bad is going to be done. No, 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 no. We're only focusing on a few good things. Yes. And what this says is, it doesn't have to be exactly this. You're not being tested on this in 10 minutes. I told you and your purple people eater friend to take that silly monkey and go back to the darn zoo. And then sign your name, and that's the key. If you do nothing else, just sign your name. It can even be on a napkin. And for those of you at home who are watching this Tuni Talks on YouTube, feel free to pause the video and do the same. The important thing is your signature. Okay, as you're writing, I'm going to start so we can get through this. Our first trait is optimism. I see optimists as people who see the opportunity in every difficulty, who have a positive mindset through your darkest and most difficult times in your life. Now, what do you notice about this handwriting? Yes?
It goes up.
Yes, it goes up to the right. If your signature or part of your writing goes up a little bit, that's the sign of an optimist. And this is the writing of Vera Wang, the famous designer. The second trait Vera Wang has is self-reliance and leadership. Now, self-reliance is inner strength. It's seeing yourself as a leader and wanting that role, wanting the responsibility to step up. Vera Wang has it. Picasso had it. Indra Nooyi, the CEO of Pepsi. Jose Mourinho, the former coach of Chelsea, has it too. But here's the thing, if you don't have it, that's okay. There are all forms of leadership. Bill Gates does not have it. Neither does, neither do a lot of leaders. So these are only 5 leadership traits, success traits of about 100. And that's what we're focused on. So that's the second success trait. Now, how many have signature that's so big it almost takes up the whole card? Put your hand up. Everyone look at those people. Those are the egomaniacs in the room, by the way. Sorry, Kurt. But here's the thing. Having a healthy ego often leads to success. People who have that large first letter, like Oprah, like Richard Branson, in their signature, they're bold. When people put them down, when they criticize them, they fight through that and they move forward. So that's what we can learn from. Ego is not such a bad thing.
Can we clarify if this is big or not?
After. The third trait, fluidity of thought. Now, this is what my mother saw in me that really helped me see that I had the ability to connect words. Now, people who have fluidity of thought, you see it in figure eights. If you have any figure eights in your writing, in your J's, in your G's, anywhere in your writing, if you look at Richard Branson, he has, do you see that? Right there on the S, a figure eight.
Where?
Right there. See there?
No comprende.
There. Figure eight means you connect words and thoughts. It also shows up with athletes like Steve Nash and DeMar DeRozan, in the sense that they have fluidity of thought in terms of connecting their body and their mind in really extraordinary and brilliant ways. So we often see fluidity of thought in loquacious speakers, conversationalists, writers, and performers. J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, look how she connects her words. How many have such messy signatures that you can't even read it? Put your hand up. Okay. So some people may think you're sloppy, but you may be a genius. Because you're thinking so fast that you're connecting those letters so rapidly. There's a real problem-solving analytical ability there. Someone who has pride and dignity in their writing, which are really high D stems and T stems. Back to Richard. Look at his D. See that? Ooh, that's a D. It's really, really high. Those are people who care about the reputation of themselves and their company and are willing to fight for that reputation. Those are the best, often the best performers in a company because they care so much. And I'll tell you how to deal with those people if you have them in your company at the end. Our next trait are high goals and high self-esteem. Thank you. Our high goals and high self-esteem. You can see that in the T-bar. There's actually a lot of factors, but if you look at your T-bar, where is it on the stem? If it's high, well, in handwriting analysis, that means you feel right now a healthy sense of self-esteem. Now, a lot of leaders don't have this because they're really hard on yourself. And if you have the T-bar lower, here's a little tip. In handwriting analysis, there's a physiological connection between the neural pathways in the brain and your hand. There was a study at Washington University that came out last week that said that handwriting analysis or cursive writing is directly connected to memory recall and language acquisition and fluidity of thought of what I was saying. If you put it high and strong, you will feel better. There will be a physiological difference. If you don't believe me, if that sounds crazy, try it for 21 days and then text me and tell me I'm crazy, but it works because I've done it on myself. Frank Sinatra had really high T-bars. The second last one, is enthusiasm and energy. Now, every successful person I've met, from Saturday Night Live to the business world, even in education, have enthusiasm. And what enthusiasm means, I define it as an emotional energy that starts with willpower and really spurs other people onto action. Charisma that really takes people on a journey and convinces them that this is a mission and a purpose worth doing with you. And enthusiasm is at the length of the stroke on the T-bar. So the way you can improve your enthusiasm, especially in a January blues month, is to write it across really strong and long. You see that in Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, I don't know if you know the brief story, his whole factory burnt down. All his patents, they were all handwritten. The greatest inventor of his day, the greatest entrepreneur of that generation. Do you know what he did as he saw the flames engulfing the sky? He turned to one of his team and said, let's start tomorrow. Let's rebuild and do bigger and better things than before. So he took that as an opportunity and he spurred on his team to action, and the enthusiasm that Thomas Edison showed ended up in 90 days going beyond anything they had done for 5 years prior to that. That's a true story, because he had enthusiasm. And look at his T-bars. Those are crazy and exaggerated, but that is an example of someone who leads by example and his energy is infectious. And last, determination. If enthusiasm is the emotional energy that spurs other people onto action on your team, determination is the physical drive that you need to succeed. How many people here have ever run a marathon? How many people here have ever started a new company? I was just talking with Ada and Anna and Ina at the back. They're starting new companies. You need a physical drive to move on. It's not just emotional. You know how hard it is. Determination shows up in the downward strokes. If you have strong downward strokes below the baseline, which is the middle part, that is determination. You can see it in Gandhi. Look at that lower stroke on the G. It doesn't even look like a G, but see how strong it is? And right at the tip, it gets stronger. Maya Angelou, who is a leader in her field, one of the great poets and writers of her generation, look at her Ys and her Gs. Do you see how long those are? That is someone who persists through difficulties and will not quit. Terry Fox, one of my heroes growing up, the same thing. Look at his Y. This almost makes me emotional. He gets deeper and stronger at the top. There's like an ink blot right there. And that, my friends, is determination. So in summary, optimism is that line that goes up in the sky to the right. Self-reliance is underlying your name, though many of us don't have it. Healthy ego and confidence is definitely a positive thing if you're looking to hire someone in your company. Fluidity of thought is the figure eights, and that is the loquacious speaker, the conversationalist, and the writer's handwriting trait. Also some dancers and great athletes. Pride and dignity, you care so much about your reputation that you want to do what's best for the company. That's what I'd look for in a salesperson in your next company. High goals and good self-esteem. By raising your T-bar, you will raise your self-esteem and you will raise your goals. Enthusiasm and energy is that physical drive. No, enthusiasm is the emotional drive that you need to spur on others, and the charisma to get them to follow you. And last, determination is the physical drive that all of us need to succeed in whatever pursuit we choose. I had a parent-teacher interview, and this mother came in with her son. They sat down, and the mother said to me, "Tell me something about my son that I haven't heard before. Everyone says that he's hyperactive, he doesn't listen, he's impulsive, he's socially awkward and isolated, but he has a lot of potential. Tell me something I don't know right now." And I have about a minute. So I said, "You want to hear something that you've never heard before?" "Yes, I do." I asked him to sign his name like I just asked you to, and his signature. So he did. And I saw that he writes his T-bars backwards and he puts a point at the end, like a real harsh arrow. And I said, "You beat yourself up. You're so sarcastic with yourself," because that backward arrow is sarcasm, and it was low. "And you don't believe in yourself. And that voice in your head says I can't, says I'm not worthy, I'm not capable. And here's what you need to do. You need to stop that, because you have so much potential. I've seen it in my classes. So please change your T-bar, and let's work together to really get to that point where I know you can be, because I believe in you even before you believe in yourself." And you know what happened next? His mother dropped her arms. She looked at me and turned to her son, and she said, "You always do that. Mr. Cohen's right. You always put yourself down. You need to stop that." And she broke down. And we spent about a moment in silence. And I worked with the student for about a year, and we worked on his self-esteem, and we got him involved with other kids socially. And a year later, he became one of the most successful club leaders in the school. And I remember walking into a room and seeing him surrounded by other kids, and he was the leader. And I ran into his mother shortly after, and she said, "You know, that moment when we did that handwriting analysis thing, that was a catalyst for him changing." So what I say to you tonight is to use this knowledge that we spoke of today. I'm not saying necessarily become a certified handwriting analyst. Although if you want to learn more about this, please come and see me. I'll be over here, and we can talk about how it can benefit you or your business. I'm saying to look within yourself and see what it is that's amazing about yourself that maybe you've forgotten about. And look at the person beside you or someone in this room, because this is a place of thought leaders, action takers, and movers and shakers, and every one of you has something to offer someone else in this room. So really, handwriting analysis to me is about connection. Thank you.